Mm. Cool. All right. Thank you. I realized that if I don't do that before I start letting people in, it's gets convoluted. So while we give some people, a little more time to come in and see any questions, ideas related to the presentation that's scheduled for now, which is the Q&A for me, but also for anything else. We'll take it all.
Hi, sorry.
Okay.
I had the mic on.
Oh, no worries. No, I mean, feel free to would you, let's see, what would you prefer to do? This is, would you guys like me to give a summary of what I talked about in the video? Would you guys have want to address questions right away? This is, your time, so you let me know. We have people are coming in, messages. So, yes, learning about how many tools there are. Any tips on how to choose and what to try out? Let's see. How long are the videos available? Okay, this is a kind of a logistics question. The videos for free attendees are available for 24 hours. So they were released today at 10 a.m. They will be available till tomorrow when we start a new day. If you have a VIP pass, you can come back anytime. They're yours to come back and watch at any time. A human summary of what would that of what we saw this morning of AI. Give me a little guidance about what we would like a human summary of your presentation. Okay, a human summary of my presentation. So my presentation, called 4 Levels of Interaction, basically walks you through 4 different ways of interacting with a language model. And there's just to remind everybody, in case you weren't here, I think most of you were here, but just in case, language models are the AI tools that generate language. And then the chatbots are the interfaces where we query those language models. So ChatGPT, if you go to, let's see, did we have that here? Can I show you guys that right here? I'm going to share my screen and show you again some options. So let's go back to the beginning. Ooh. No, that's not what I wanted. Not the editor, but ChatGPT only. So this is the interface where we ask a question. For example, and we can ask, very simple, very complicated questions. I'm asking it a question about what you are to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT answers. Now, it answers on the interface. The model that is using is the model listed here, ChatGPT o1 Preview. So models are the artificial thinking brain behind this interface. And you can also access ChatGPT in different, the model itself in different ways. So we go through asking the interface, basically break the ice kind of questions. What are you? We also go into creating GPTs, which several speakers have also covered. What does it mean to use ChatGPT in a more guided way? And I'm going to share this part of my session. Basic prompting is interacting with the interfaces. Custom projects are creating a background, providing, basically you're creating what Diana has called your own intern. You upload the documents you want the model to take into consideration. You give it instructions about how to structure the answer, what tone of writing, you use formal language, use technical terminology and explain technical terminology, etc. Then I also cover how to leverage community prompts. And this is, while it's a little bit more involved, it's very interesting to go and see what people have built prompts and share them. And so you can use those prompts or you can tweak those prompts. So, and you don't have to think from scratch about how to do that. And then the last level that I cover is local querying, which means I'm implementing AI in my computer. And you guys will see in the video that how to do that. You will go through the programming. The workbook that goes with my presentation will have you do some of the exercises on the chatbots themselves. And for this programming, of course, we're not going to go from interaction to all the way to programming. You're not going to be programming, but you're going to be able to consider some of the differences in interaction and the outputs that you get from the different models. So there's a lot of examples in the workbook as well. And one more thing that I wanted to show you is for the community prompts. Remember, we are talking about prompting the chatbots, the chat models in the chatbots, creating our own assistants using community prompts and deploying locally. These plays that I mentioned in the presentation, GitHub, which is, let's see, there it is. That's the one I want to show you. And as you can see, this is live. This is there right now. This project, Fabric, is a community prompt project. There's some interaction with it that can be done programmatically. And I can show you what that means so that I'm not, talking in the abstract. I'm accessing Fabric through my computer. I go through how to set it up as a way to show you that how this works. But for example, I can go into one of the transcripts from our presenters. I am going to copy this transcript and tell the model, tell one of the models to summarize it. You can see here, summarize it using a create summary prompt made by the community. And it generates that summary. Now, I want to look at the prompt that this is using. Let's not worry about the programming yet. Let's look at how we can come and also look at the prompts without having to do the programming. So create summary, look at, these are all pre-made prompts. Obviously, quite robust prompts, right? They're not just what's your name. Create summary. We go in and we can see this is the prompt that the system uses to create the summary. Let me, can you read that now? You are an expert content summarizers. You take content in and output a markdown formatted summary. And this is also another aspect that I want to emphasize. I touch upon this on my presentation. I go into it in my course. And also on Saturday, Serge Gladkov is sharing about Markdown, which is a fantastic tool related to AI, not quite AI, but used in a lot of AI situations to manipulate content without having to worry so much about the formatting and layout from the start. Let's see. I just want to check real quick that I have everybody that needs to come in so that yes, okay. So we have, okay, so the what you can do here, which is the interesting part about, you don't need to know any programming here. You can come in and just peruse the prompts to help you think about what prompt would be good for me. For example, one of the prizes that we have today, yes, we have some prizes, is a summarizer of research papers, which I created half using the prompts from here and improving on it for my own uses. And I'm going to show you that. Let's see if it loads. It's loading. Okay, so it's loading right here. And so what you're going to get is access to this summarizer. And what you do is you're going to come here and choose a PDF file. I'm going to navigate to my documents. I'm going to go into, let's go into this. This is, as you can see, it's a research paper. And so you upload it and the system takes it, reads through the PDF, which is hard to read through a PDF for machines. I don't know if you guys ever tried converting a PDF to a word processing file. It's a nightmare. I mean, you can do it, but it doesn't, PDFs are not friendly that way. And so you get a text file with a 30+ page research paper with the basics of the paper. So what this helps me do, and remember we talked about, yes, we need to read through long content, but what this helps me do is say, okay, I have a ton of research papers. Which ones should I read first? So these summaries help me see a bird's eye view of the research and say, okay, this one I really need to read right away. This one can wait for a couple of weeks. So I've done this with a mix of programming and the prompts that are here. But again, you can also use these prompts to help you build your own prompts when you're going to the chatbots. Let's see. Virginie is asking me, you're on GitHub. Are these tools you programmed yourself? So yes. So the PDF converter I programmed myself. I did have some help, and I did have some help from AI. I do use AI a lot for code because I'm not a coder. So I go in and if you were with me this morning or earlier today, I should say, because it wasn't morning for everybody, I was showing how this works. And so for all of these, I get a lot of notes because I don't know everything. And I also use Claude. I use the GitHub helper, and I use ChatGPT a lot for debugging my code. The tool, Virginie, the PDF converter is one of the prizes. I'm going to show you something. We actually will draw names today. We have quite a few prizes, lots of prizes right here that we're gonna pick one and draw a name from an artificial intelligence hat and get a winner. So that one you may win through the prizes. The references to all of the interfaces that I use are in the presentation, QR codes for you to access. This GitHub is a repository of open source projects. So this is freely available, and I am going to share this very the URL for this prompt. That way you can see one, an easy one right away on the chat. And like I said, you can navigate through a lot of prompts. There's one of them, for example, that lets you go into YouTube and summarize YouTube videos. Again, something I do sometimes if I am for things that are shared that are quite long and I don't have time to watch them right away. I can summarize and say, okay, this is, I need to watch this. I need to set aside time. Or this one is like, okay, this one was interesting, but I don't want to go deeper into this right away. And then the last thing that I do is that local deployment, which means I download, and you'll see a video of these. We can watch it right now, actually. It's not very long. This is going into, these are libraries that are used. You need to have some setup behind the scenes. In this case, there's a local host. Basically, instead of going to the cloud, this is my host running in my computer. And then I have downloaded the model. I will tell the system which model I want to use. I have several in my computer, so I will tell the system which one I want to use. And I tell the system where to go look for the documents that I want to work with. In this case, as you're seeing on screen, there's a lot of PDFs, some Word files, and an HTML. I do not have an HTML reader, so that HTML file will be skipped. This is something that we can control when we do local deployment. And then we're going to give that prompt based on these files, identify a gap area in this research. So basically I'm saying, I'm trying to verify if the area of research that I'm proposing is indeed an area of research that needs more work, or I should move on to something else. So here, the process is running and it's thinking. As you can see, ChatGPT runs very fast. This is taking a little longer because it's in my local computer. It has less computing power, but it already starts giving me the output from all that thinking, and all these was local. Some of those files, some of those research files are files that I've obtained from behind a paywall. I paid the university, I paid for them. So I don't really want to load them on ChatGPT and breach that paywall barrier and tell them like, okay, now, you might, even though I choose not to share my data for training, somebody can still have access to that content. The same happens for me for client confidentiality. I work a lot with health information. So if I'm working with patient files, even I can anonymize the files, yes, but sometimes this is better having this locally. I don't have to worry about uploading anything to the web, uploading anything to the cloud. I have all the files, including the language model, in my computer. So this is to show you this range of interactions that you can have and where you can start, which is simple prompting. And this is where I started. I was in translation. We've had machine translation, and I was always interested. But when the boom of the chats came about, I kind of went back to basics and I started with prompting. So this is certainly a progression that you can take and, get as you get better with your comfort, with your skills, with the needs, because it also helps you grow where you're going to use these tools, then you can add ways to interact with AI. Let's see. I'm looking at more questions. Of course, thank you for sharing. Yes. Let's see. I'm going to. Okay. Any other questions or ideas?
Can I ask how long you've been learning AI and starting to use it? Is it a month-long learning curve, or years, or what?
Well, I've been diving into this for several years. I started with I had started a little bit before Transformers, which is the technology that started this boom. Transformers, not the ones from the Lego-like things, but Transformers are a way to look at language for computers and seeing a larger context. Computers, so in translation, we used to have statistical translation, which basically looked at a bunch of text and said, statistically, what is the most likely next word? So if I say, for example, the dog, what's most likely to come after dog is probably not going to be cat. It's probably going to be a verb. So that works, fairly well in certain scenarios, but obviously it doesn't have the richness of human language. And I started looking at how those statistics were working with XML, for markup. And that's why I think Markdown is such a great, oh my goodness, it's such a great invention. The guy who created Markdown is a genius. I'm like, of course, it makes complete sense to mark text for hierarchy, right? Heading, subheading, paragraph in a very, very simple way, rather than creating this convoluted way that we had, for example, with HTML. So I've been interested in the behind the scenes for quite a while. I used to program static websites in HTML in 2000, so it's been a lot of time. When translators came about, when the boom, they published the translators article in 2017. The article is called "Attention is All You Need," if you want to look it up. I started looking into it. I tried to train my own model. I had 20 years of translation data. And I said, okay, I'm going to make my own model and it's going to translate like me and I'm going to be awesome. And it was a disaster because even for 20 years of translation as a professional, it was not enough data to train a system. So now I use my data to guide a system, guide some of these models that have been training so much more. Imagine, this is what I've done in 20 years. These models are trained on what the whole of humanity has done and has ever been put on the web. So much, much more. So yes, it takes interest in computing, but interacting mindfully with prompts doesn't take programming. I could do a lot of the things that I'm doing without programming. I do it. I go into programming because it makes it more efficient for me. But you don't have to do everything. So I would say that basic prompting, let me share again this summary. Basic prompting, custom prompts, custom projects are something that you can, in the span of a month, you can start doing, and incorporating, exploring crowd prompts also. Just because you're asking, let's see, I have another question here. Oh, my husband is a software developer. He swears by Markdown. Yes. So, Markdown is basically a way to tag text, and I can show you here. Let me come back. I write my articles and books in Markdown, and you can go, let's see, somebody put a link, and I don't know necessarily this link, but can you see this? Are you seeing this Markdown guide?
Yes, it's the same link I posted in the chat.
Yeah, so these yeah, no, this is just to show that there's a lot of resources. I haven't used this particular guide, but it's a so in content creation and in digital creation, there's two things we have, is the content itself and what you see. And so a lot of the boom of computers was that we had what's called WYSIWYG, which is an acronym for what you see is what you get. So in Word, in MS Word, for example, we can format things and develop things, and that's what the printer prints. In Markdown, it doesn't work that way. So what you have, let's see if there's a cheat sheet right here. Perfect. So you have very simple instructions to tell the system, if you write this is going to be a heading level 1. If you put 2 asterisks in a row and close with 2 asterisks in a row, it's going to bold your text. So it's a very good way to have your basic content categorized, and then you can add prettier things. And yes, some people have asked me if my PowerPoints are completely done with markup. No, I do Markdown for the content, but then I add a lot of visual support. I think that's important to curate and use the technologies, together for better results. Let's see, more questions. Chat. Where is the chat? Right here. Oh, thank you for sharing the article about all you see. All attention is all you need. It's a very technical paper, but there's some takeaways that are pretty important, which basically the technology that AI uses allows the system to consider larger spans of text and how they relate to previous spans and spans down the line. And that is something that wasn't possible before. Heba, you have a comment or a question?
Oh, yes, please. You mentioned you worked on HTML, so and you use Markdown. So can we directly upload the document from Markdown to HTML, and it will automatically add the heading and subheading, so we don't need to do them like manually on the website?
Yes. So what you can do, and I'm trying to see if I can open one of those files. You create your document in Markdown, and then you can output it. This is the beauty of Markdown. What Markdown has is several pipelines, several ways of processing that Markdown and output different things. For example, the same markup document, you can say, output it as an HTML file, output it as a Word file, output it as a PDF file. So you have the same content and it comes out as different file types that you can use in different ways. And you can include images in Markdown. That's something, a question I get a lot. So yes, you can totally develop in Markdown and output it as a different type of markup file. For example, HTML. You can also output as XML.
Thanks.
Let's see. So I'm going to show you related to the question of timing. I have the course that in a way inspired the summit, and thinking that, okay, we need to work together to learn together. I have seen an incredible change, especially this year with clients, and how we interact and weave in AI into what we do. And so for let's see if I can, the course has 7 modules, and so it will take a few months to complete. It's not something that we do like in a week. You're going to be, it takes time to digest. So we have a whole module for to chatbot interaction and AI assistance. We have a whole module for using APIs, and so we go through the whole process of obtaining an API, which is the key that allows you to query the model, not in the developer's chatbot. We have a whole module dedicated to research tools, a couple of them, if you want to check them out. Perplexity AI, which was mentioned earlier before, and Notebook LM. But there's a lot of different ways to weave it into your research for supporting content, for supporting, for creating references, for research of other kinds into your content. For example, audience awareness and you creating user personas. We have, I do use, like, I think some of you may have been in the session with Jacob. I use AI a lot to help me support content, and sometimes I do work with a designer, and sometimes it's, my head thinks in one way and the designer's head thinks in a different way, and so AI can sometimes be the bridge between the both of us. And definitely we go into looking at the math and the processing, basically looking under the hood of these models. How do they break up language, and why do different models give me different answers? There's a process in order for language models to make words, to read words in a mathematical way. It has to break up text. That process is called tokenization. So the way different models tokenize is different. And so that also impacts what happens. And one of the things that is, to me, very, very important, let me see if I can share a screenshot of this example, is bias. So the language models, oh, I have something. You guys play Wordle? Anybody plays Wordle?
Yes, and it nearly did me in this morning.
Okay.
Sometimes.
So, okay. So this is how, this is from another presentation that I gave a while ago, but this is what happens. This is, if you guessed wires at the very beginning, how can we go straight to words? How do we do that? Because I know that in English, I won't have a word that says WQ, WT, WD, WF. And then even if I think that maybe WY may be an option, I keep looking and I don't. So I was able to guess it quickly because of my knowledge of what's possible in English. The language models don't have this. The language models have to create statistical possibilities. So they don't have the meaning, but they have the statistics. So the language model may be able to statistically understand that after fac, fec, fic, foc, something else should come. And in this one, it doesn't come. So if I ask it, and you guys can go try this in a chatbot, why is this funny? It will give you an explanation. What I wanted to show you is, So what are the, in this learning process, what are the things that you guys can look for? Definitely some of the fear and the anxiety, getting that out. There's, for me, one of the biggest obstacles, and this was really interesting during the pandemic with all of the things that came online. I remember I did the first AI course that Andrew Ng from Stanford did, which the quality of the videos was not there. They have redone it. It's on Coursera. It is a very good course, but it's very, even though it says it's for everyone, it has a highly IT lens. So, okay, I went and I need to learn some Python, and I need to learn some other things. And I went through so many tutorials and courses that I wanted to figure out a way to walk people through without all these, turnoffs at every direction. Things you want to look for that I'm offering in my course, but you can look for in other resources that you search for. Is it giving you a way to incorporate what you're doing into your existing workflows? Is it addressing your need for, all these different resources? And so one of the things that I do is we sit down with students and with clients. We sit down and think about what are your use cases, because I can tell you, yes, go try different models. That's a general tip. A specific tip for you: do you work in medicine? Do you work in finance? Do you work in insurance? Do you work with creating content to educate? Do you work with responding to insurance claims? So every case use case will have different needs, and that the way you address AI and the way you incorporate it will be different. So again, this is how I built the journey in this course, but also how you can address your journey for tackling AI from starting wherever you're at. Let's see, I want to go into the chat again and make sure. Okay, we are past a little time. However, Jane Howley from Australia, who was supposed to be with us, is taken by a work transition, so she couldn't take time. So what I can do now is just we're going to have our end of day call at my 3 p.m. So in about 20 minutes. So in the next 20 minutes, we can hang out. You can ask me questions. I can show you other things if you're interested.
Can you give us a bit of an overview of tomorrow? Because I think you said that was it Serge was going to be Saturday, but he's tomorrow, right? Is that right?
Oh, that's a good let's see.
Could have been me, maybe I thought it was.
No, this is good. Let's go together and look at the what's happening. I'm going to share these. So also, this is my calendar for what's happening. So Serge is tomorrow. That's correct. We're going to have Antonio, and is going to talk about Antonio's presentation is in Spanish. It has English subtitles and Spanish subtitles. So we have subtitles in both languages. Nuria and Valeria's presentation is also in Spanish, and it's also subtitled in Spanish and in English. So you can click either one. Serge is in English, and it's subtitled in English. Blair's presentation is the rest of the presentations are in English, subtitled in English. And Antonio is talking about their clarifier that they issued, and they've also created a GitHub project. So there's some overview that he presents, and then his programmer will go into some of the details. Nuria and Valeria are talking about a project that they did for the city of Buenos Aires. They organized a corpus of a lot of legal administrative texts, created some outputs with AI, corrected those outputs with a bunch of professional editors, and went back and retrained the system so that the city can offer, if a lawyer or a group of lawyers issues something, a regulation, a sentence in legalese, that the city can give it to citizens in plain language. Serge is talking about Markdown. So this one will pick up part of the things that we saw today. Blair is talking about using different workflows for summarizing field reports, people that write reports, in his case, for a construction company, and how to, for efficiencies, how to help decision makers. One of the use cases is for bid writing. So they look for public bids, but this is also useful. In my case, I see that I can use that for grant writing, for research. And Nuria is talking about guidelines. So when you start using AI, there's things are moving so quickly that it's hard to figure out when to use it, how to use it, how to guide it. You know, it's like some people are like, no, this is, you know, and I have this talk about AI with educators a lot. Like, no, we don't use AI. Like, it's a good thing. And it's like, well, like any technology, to completely shut it off is not a good thing, because you're closing yourself in. So she talks about guidelines to help people figure out what to do, and she has some very simple tips for that. And then Saturday, we're going into ethics, overviews with Andy and with Arl. Scott is going to talk about his own tool for creating different AI assistants. So that is something you might want to use. Elena is talking about helping creating your AI assistant for specifications for projects. And Kunal is going to give us a little closing fun for using AI with K-12 in K-12 environments. So one of the things that I have that I want to make sure we have here, if we go here, for some reason this hadn't refreshed earlier and some of you had trouble, but hopefully now everybody that wanted to be in is in. So tomorrow we'll have the link, right? Well, tonight we'll have the link, but tomorrow, so the link will be properly on Friday to connect for the Q&As. Again, watch the videos before coming to the Q&As so that you can ask the speakers questions about them. The videos will be, just as we have day one here available, the videos will be available tomorrow for day two. This is in the VIP section. You'll have access to all of the multimedia files and bonus materials that speakers have given. And so before, let's do some prizes, since I want to show you. Let's see. I have a file with all of your names in a CSV file, and I did get help from AI to create the file. Let's see. I have them open, but the names are there, so I don't want to put anybody on the spot and share email addresses that you may not want to share. So I was trying it earlier So sorry, Melanie, you might, well, actually this is random, so the name may come up again. If the name comes up twice, we'll give somebody another prize. So the one, let's see, we are going to, I have them all here. We are going to go with, can you guys see? Let's see, I'm gonna stop sharing. Can you guys see this? Okay, we're gonna share this prize, which is the AI Power Up by Josh Goldsmith, and he's Nora's partner in crime for translation and interpreting. So you can check this out. I'm gonna share screen again because I want you to see it in action. Share here. Okay, so I'm going to pick, as this says, there is a randomizer function. I'm going to go in and pick a name at random. So our winner for this prize is Shiho Fukuda. So I'm going to give that to Shiho. And now I'm going to do the second prize, and it's only for people in the call. So we're going to go through until we get someone here. Okay, let's take this one. This is automated glossaries with AI. So here we're going to, you're going to get a resource to help you create glossaries for language development, for plain language, for translation. It's helpful for all kinds of language tasks. So we have only a few people in the call, so we might need a few tries for this one to work. Let's take a look. Amalia? No? Paulina? No, Paulina had to leave early. Brandy? I'm gonna go again. Magali? No. Natalia is not here. It's too late in Europe. Jess? Can you guys see the name that's coming up? Yeah? Okay. Esther? No. Oh my goodness. Orly? Leona? Lucilla? I'm checking to see. No. Lina? Maya? Oh, Maya was here earlier. Liz also was here earlier, but not here. Anna, Pam, Katarzyna. I love that name. Miriam, Olga. No, Olga was here earlier. No, Ayanda, Madison, Erica, Giovanna Lester. I saw Giovanna earlier. Lois, Olia. No, no. Oh my goodness. Okay, Shiho again. Vicky, Natalia. Okay, that's not working. I'm gonna go and look behind the scenes at the file, make sure that this is what we need to have. No, yeah, this is what we need to have. It's really random. Okay. Simoniel, Herminia, Elisa, Vera. I know Vera was asking me about getting in. Allison, Maria, Rachel. No, Andrea. Julia. Julia was here earlier, but logged off. Victoria, Michelle, Vihayalmini, Andrea, Jalin. Jalin was here earlier too. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay, there's a lot of people. Marta, Jessica, Sergio, Laura Burian. Oh my goodness. Jolene, Karen. Diana Loriani was here earlier too. No. Okay, so I will keep going until somebody from here gets picked. But I don't want to take all the time in doing this. So I promise you, I have the people in the call, and one of you will get a prize. But I want to use the time if you want for any other questions. And let's see, the chat has a couple of questions or something.
I guess somebody was there. Just under
okay.
somebody is Hannah
Oh, Lisa,
was
okay.
one. So you do have a winner.
Okay, Hannah, okay, awesome. So we have a winner.
It would be easier if people like turn their cameras on.
That's great. Okay, so I'm glad, I'm glad we went through it. And so tomorrow we'll do some more drawings. We'll have 2 tomorrow and 3 on Saturday. You can check out the prices on the hi, Lisa.
Hi, sorry.
So we're gonna get, I think
It's been a crazy day, and I
Oh.
finally got into the meeting, and then I'm like, oh my God, it's showing up as Hannah.
Yes. So this is the automated glossaries from Josh Goldsmith is gonna go to you. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
fantastic. I think that you're gonna find that very, very useful.
Cool, thank you.
Congratulations. So let's is it since you are here, can we let me stop the share, and can we do a little, is it okay if I take a screenshot and
Sure.
celebrate? All right. Fantastic. Awesome. So at 3 p.m. we'll have like an overall closing of the day. And so what's going to happen is tomorrow you're going to watch videos, and at 12 Pacific, we're going to come back to Q&As. And every day at 3 p.m. we're going to have a closing time so we can ask questions, like talk to each other. We have a few minutes before that time. And so if any of you has any questions or comments, ideas or suggestions, this is the first time that we're doing this event, and we already have a lot of ideas on how to improve it and get more, get more efficient. But if you have comments, questions, concerns, this is the time to share.
Well, I can't say much because it was a bit of a crazy day. I had actually scheduled to take all of my pets to the vet today before I knew about this summit. And there are 3 of them, and there's, I would have to reschedule for 6 months out or something. So it was unfortunate. I missed the kickoff and everything. And I'm going to be watching all the videos starting as soon as we get off this call. So but one thing that I did, and I don't know, I have this spam filter on my email, and I realized as well that a bunch of the emails were kind of trapped in there. I don't know if anyone else was running into issues with finding the email that you needed to get in.
So this was a big learning curve in terms of the communications. I had never reached out in this scale. I have now 13,000 people in my email list.
That's a lot.
We had an issue. We created this the domain so this can live on its own. So there is a thing called domain warmup. And we went through it, and it was interesting to see, trying to make sure that we were not going to be categorized as spam. So some local, because it's a new domain, even when we did everything correctly and we warned Google and we warned everybody, we're coming in, we're legit, we're a person, we're people, we're not bots. We're not trying to scam anybody. We're really sharing educational content, etc. Local, because it's a new domain, local systems may have, which is, it's good. If it's a new domain, put it automatically on spam. So that's why it may happen. So now if you accept us as a legitimate domain, it will be normal. But it is the landscape. This is an aspect that I would like to address also more in the future. The cybersecurity in the language industry, the landscape is changing very quickly. It's incredible. Like my Facebook account was hacked. even though I have all these bells and whistles, and we happened to use a device that wasn't in my usual workflow, and it was hacked. So a lot of things that we can do to, like I have firewall and antivirus and VPNs. We can talk about a lot of those things to help. So yes, there's a lot of moving parts that connect. So hopefully now you get, and I do apologize, some of you got more emails than you should have. And this is also part of our ignorance with the email marketing system or our automated system. So we believe we fixed it, but if you still have concerns or you're getting, the emails are not working properly, let us know.
How do you want to collect feedback so it's in a manageable place for you to review later? If it's put in the chat here, it'll disappear, won't it?
So in the chat, I will have the recordings. We will have the recordings of all of this. We can communicate in the community. As far as feedback, actually, that's a very good question. Feedback for the summit and the sessions, we have a survey,
Okay.
which should come live tonight or after the call, where you can log in and give us feedback about the sessions, about the summit in general. So that is one way. But technical support, we do have, and I did answer about 3-4 emails today. support@aiinwriting.com. It's also a place where you can send us comments, questions, and that's our dedicated support line that we're trying to contain all of the login needs. Some people weren't able to log in. It's interesting that they had logged in with a free pass, but then they bought the VIP pass, and so they were confused about how that happened. But if you are in the community and you have both, if you go, let me share the screen to show you how that looks like. You will see, again, this is coming up here. I'm not sure. This is maybe we need to refresh this, but there's basically 2 courses if you have the VIP pass, so you can, and the videos are the same in both. The only difference is that when you go into the VIP, you're going to have the videos for more than 24 hours. You're going to have the videos to watch whenever you want. And also you're going to have access to the MP3s, the transcripts, and all of the speaker bonuses, all of the materials, workbooks that came with these. One special work discount from WordBreak, which is a tool that helps with in the style of Grammarly, but very dedicated to plain language output. And then we're going to have the recordings of all the Q&As also in this section for VIPs to watch later. But here you go in. So for those of you who have the free ticket, you'll go in and you see all the sessions. Day 1 is here until tomorrow. Day 2 will be from tomorrow to Saturday, and then day 3 from Saturday to Sunday. Does that make sense?
So that, and I apologize because I'm just joining, and so that what you just showed is how we view the recordings. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
And then where do we go to see the Q&As again? Sorry.
Oh, no worries. This is good because like this is so when you log in, you're gonna come into the community, and I'm gonna, let's see, if I log out, can I show you? So if I logging in, you're gonna come into the community, and if it is the first time that you log into the portal, you're gonna need to create a password. Otherwise, let me see, am I sharing my screen properly? Let me share my screen. Now you should be seeing the community. The announcements area, we have tomorrow we'll have, this is the kickoff call or the information for today. Tomorrow we'll have a similar posting. And also in this tab, events, the link will be here. It's not there yet because it's we're still on today's call. And so here you can come in and click on that link to access the Q&As. So events is one option, or postings in the community is another option. And then you'll also get the link by email.
Okay, sorry.
Let's see, go back to, where are you guys? Right here. I want to stop sharing and see you. Okay. So as a like to wrap up the day, what I wanted to share today was get you started with interacting with AI. So if you haven't watched the presentations, Nora's session will get you started with chatbots. Diana's will get you started with assistants. My presentation will go through those 4 levels of interaction to give you examples, to give you, there's QR codes to access everything, so you don't have to remember any URL. There's demonstrations. It goes with a workbook that you can follow. That's a PDF file in the, with a lesson you can download. And Jacob's session goes through visual uses of AI, so creating logos, creating branding, and shows some additional tools for creating visuals. And then Josh's presentation goes into a specific tool for language for word processing. And there's no right way to get into this. You get started with your curiosity, with your need. If you feel like, okay, I don't know what to use AI for, go into one of the Q&As in my session and just try it. Just go in, Claude. Yeah, it's friendly. Maybe try as a different interface, ChatGPT versus Claude, just to see how they feel. I have a sense that ChatGPT is a little more like Google and Claude is a little more like Yahoo. But that's my own takeaway. You may have yours. I do like Claude a lot for the output. And it does provide a little more privacy. It doesn't, you don't have to turn off, do not train on my data, for example. And then I would highly, highly recommend going to that GitHub project and perusing. Forget about the programming, just look at the prompts, look at what the prompts are. If a prompt says, create summary, how is it creating the summary? If the prompt says, analyze trends, how is it telling the system to analyze trends? Because that will give you insights into, okay, I like this, I don't like this. And this is something that I tell people a lot. It's like, I use the AI a lot, the language models to fight with. It's like, okay, I'm stuck here. What do you think? What can you tell me? And it's like, no, I don't like that. That's not the right way to do it. I'm going to do it better. So it's, somebody said today that Diana's idea of it's your intern, it's a good way of conceptualizing it. And there is, for plain language considers the wording itself, the structure, and the design. For all those 3 things, AI is not there yet. I don't, it may evolve into that. But even when I use AI for massaging some content, I have to go in and put in the human eye and the human decision-making point. Let me see. Oh, Carl came in. Okay. More ideas, questions, concerns? Even if it's the same question as before, and it's like, oh, I didn't quite get it. It's okay. This is, I cannot tell you the amount of times that I like, okay, how was this? How did I do this? And even now for some of the programming that I do, that let me show you this one right now. It's for going into PowerShell as a very simple interface. Is it going there? Yes. I go to figure out all this part of the code. I go to the AI a lot, and I even ask it to guide me through what else should I consider. So there's all kinds of back and forth. Something very interesting that two of the speakers at the Translators and Interpreters Conference mentioned a couple of weeks ago is using it to prepare, for example, for assignments as an interpreter, to digest, if different speakers are presenting on different things, it can give you an interactive way of preparing for that assignment and be ready. And if you're saying, well, if I interpret this as that, how can I improve it? Or what did I miss? If you can record yourself, it's like there's a lot of new use cases that the people who developed these technologies didn't think about.
I have a question.
Yes.
My last employer, we were using writer.com, and I'm just wondering what your opinion is of it. I'm kind of noticing as I just see a few of these presentations that it seems not as powerful as some of the things you're working with.
So let me see if I can understand the question. What not as powerful in the sense of what they're doing, like the
Yeah, what it can do for you. For example, a client I'm working with uses Writer. They've got it set up to look for style issues as well as make suggested health literacy edits. But it really goes like line by line. It's, it's not, when
okay,
when I
yes.
tried like Perplexity, it's night and day difference.
Yes, and so yes, I totally understand what you mean right now. So the tools that are out there, that are a lot of them are built on the big language models. So to be honest, I don't know which one Writer is built upon, but a
Okay.
lot of the interfaces that you're going to see popping up, they're popping up every day. All they do is call an API to ChatGPT, Claude, Mistral, Llama, and that's it. Just a few models, and they have a prompt. For example, for health literacy, one of the prompts may be explain every medical term with everyday language, as considered by the science standards for middle school. And if you work in health literacy, you know that the US has established standards of knowledge for people going through school, and you can go in and look at the Common Core curriculum and see the vocabulary that an 8th grader should know. And so you can tell the AI, go and look at that and give me explanations of anything that is beyond that vocabulary. So it's limited because they are trying to capture as many use cases as possible, so they cannot be very specific. That's why I think it's very powerful if you start learning about these large language models yourself and create your assistants and create your local deployments. because it is true that a lot of the people, and this is one of the things that you will hear me say a lot, I am look at the open source language models, pay for the premium subscriptions to ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude. Don't pay for other interfaces unless it's a very specific tailored interface to your use case. And I have to say, I have to give a shout out to Scott with his hub, Cheap AI. He's helping people develop interfaces for very specific use cases in professions, in veterinary, in dentistry, in car repair. So if there is an interface that already tailors to that, yes, go ahead, try it. Probably also pay for it because it will take you way longer if somebody who knows, like him, has done the work already. But if not, the tools go very shallow because they go very broad. When you're going to go deep, there's a possibility, and I'm not discounting. There's a lot of use cases for some of these interfaces. People, we are communicators, so we're interested in this. But maybe, my, I don't know, my dentist will not go into all this. They will just go and use writer.com to send a, I don't know, a holiday message to their clients, right? So while there are use cases for that in the general sense, when we want to be very specific, I definitely think taking the time, and the learning curve is a little bit steep at first. Querying or prompting is easy. And I know that I have some colleagues that it gives me, it makes me cringe to think about prompting as prompt engineering because there's nothing engineering about it. Yeah, it's just talking to a, critical thinking and talking to a model. But prompting is easy. Start trying it and then dive deeper, because it's true that all of these tools and with clients, one of the things that I'm doing with clients is helping them leverage their knowledge bases. I've already had 3 clients this year. It's like, oh, should we buy a subscription too? No, let's look at what you need, how you need it. And in a way, they're also asking me, can I replace you with this? And for some things, yes, you can. But for some things, you don't want to. For example, one of the issues that I had with the captioning, you will find mistakes. Not everything is perfect. But one of the choices from the AI was to replace the word dialysis for analysis. Imagine the damage you can do to a patient telling them you need analysis versus you need dialysis. So of course, the human eye, the human decision making is crucial. And what I tell clients is, and what I can do now, what I can see, I have some projects in the pipeline that would have taken me a whole year. And I think we can get them done in about 6 months because we're going to leverage AI. So we're reducing a lot the time, and more content is coming in. So it's a matter of shifting that position and aligning ourselves with these needs. They're going to be able to reach more customers themselves. They're going to have more questions themselves. So a lot of what you can do is about going deeper with your clients and showing them that your eye is needed, and maybe taking the time to look at more specialized tools is a better choice.
I have a follow-up question. If someone else doesn't have a question, I don't want to, take up too much time if somebody else wants to ask a question.
Any others? Go ahead. Let's go.
So, and talking again about this particular provider who I think they are improving, but one thing that this was probably a year and a half ago, I asked them, can you take some content and develop it into not really a presentation, but still like a print version, but use illustrations or some kind of imagery that basically dominates the explanation for people who need things really simple so that it's more imagery than words, but it's still, say, for example, a person with diabetes, tells them very clearly, here's how to give yourself a shot. Because traditionally in clinical patient ed materials, it would be a wall-to-wall words, which is just too difficult for most people. And at the time when I asked this question, can you do this? They said, no, we can't. And I'm wondering, have you seen anything like that? Or is it basically either it's a straight paper or it's a PowerPoint deck?
For supporting content. Okay, so what you made me think of is a project I've been working on for now a couple of years, which started with information for people to use a COVID test.
Mhm.
Wall-to-wall text, and some of the images that were developed after a little while were very confusing, especially for accessibility needs, for screen readers, for people with some visual impairments. And so it's similar to a diabetes shot. It's like you have to, or how to test yourself with a diabetes tester. There's not, you need to be very precise and as visual as possible. We have developed and I contributed to the US Access Board accessibility guidelines for developing visual support that works with plain language and with accessibility needs. And you need to have that in the background of what you create for visual content. So if you're going to give educational materials, it could be a brochure, it could be a video explaining, how to use the diabetes device. It could be the audio itself. So to have all those three parts together, AI can help you merge, for example, the guidelines. If you go to the US Access Board, this is publicly available. The COVID guidelines, I can share the link. I will share the link in the community. You can merge that with your internal processes because you may have a visual, the provider is like, okay, we can't do that for this, but maybe they already have a visual identity. So we want to merge that with their visual identity. One of the things that AI is really useful for, if you watch Jacob's presentation, the visual aspects, it's hard to herd the AI to the right output. I don't know if you saw my example earlier of the Einstein looking sheep. It takes quite a while to figure it out, but it can help you develop guidelines for that design that take into account your content, your audience, external guidelines like the US Accessibility Board or other UX design, for example, and your own internal brand identity, and say, okay, these are the things you need to consider. It can also give you a starting point so you can add that to your text content. And to convince clients that they need to have that, consider that workflow, a lot of times it's a matter of before and after testing, which is expensive and sometimes hard to do. But we were blown away. We did, Kate and I worked together on a project, and we had testing done on it. Performance and reading comprehension improved 50%. 50%. I mean, that is incredible. And the starting point wasn't necessarily completely illegible, and the visuals were not completely horrible, but we improved that a lot. And this was for the COVID testing. So there's to also make that shift to think about user testing is important.
I would think that that would be kind of one of the better outcomes if you can get AI to the point where you don't need to do testing, like it knows how to create those materials to meet the different audience needs. That would be amazing.
I would say you'd always need to deal with your specific audience. I can't imagine, even with all the data you'd put in, any testing I've done, because of the variables of the audience, has always required the actual audience to have input.
And I think that it's a matter of, can AI help you get to that, the A/B testing, right? Before and after, to that after faster. Yes, it can help you get there faster if you put in place all of these, the background, the knowledge base, the idea of audience, and all these things. And it can help you understand your audience better. I think one of the reasons, as Kate mentioned, is that the variables with the audience is always a target you're chasing. So you want to make sure that that happens in reality, not just trust the AI, but it can certainly help you work more efficiently through your workflow. It can help you create, and for example, Elena's presentation will touch on how to use AI for specifications for the project. And so if you start the project with very broad, fuzzy goals, it's, your before and after will be very laborious. But if you start with very clear specifications of what your goals are, how, what are your, the context that you're working with, what are the variables you must take into account for sure, and what are some nice to have things, that will also make a difference. So I actually recommend Elena's session, for watching Elena's session for that, and she'll be with us for a Q&A.
And that is tomorrow?
Elena's session, I am going to look properly at the agenda.
Saturday, I think.
Saturday, okay. Yeah, the thing that I've struggled with, not with AI, but just in the kind of the old school way of, you take the information that's given to you by a clinician and you try to translate it into a patient ed material, is that that ultimately the patient is looking for, how do I do something? But the clinician's information is very kind of high level. And there's just so much of a struggle getting it to that point and convincing them that, yes, you've got to write it at a lower reading level because you're talking about specific actions.
Yeah, I totally hear you. I think, and this is something that I work with. I work in health literacy, and I'm trying to actually convince one of my clients to create a project like Simple EULAs, where the end user license agreement, those terms and conditions that we all click away and never even look at once, and we're basically signing our lives away. And so there's a project that I participated in years ago, where companies had their very legalese text on the left and the plain language translation on the right. And so lawyers were happy because the legal text was there, and they had all their whereas and thereupons, and the people could see what they could and couldn't do in an actionable way. So I'm trying to convince a health related client to have that. Okay, you can have, I know your doctors want to have all this technical stuff, but what we want to achieve, and this is very, very concrete, specific goal, is for people to come to their colonoscopies prepared, so we don't have to reschedule, which is a pain in the neck for everybody involved. Not to mention expensive, because we have materials people prepare, sometimes anesthesiologists that are ready, that could be ready for somebody else. So yes, and this is a matter of promoting plain language, in educating providers on that, Carol, you have a question, comment on this?
No, I actually want to speak to you as a registered nurse, which is what I am, and have
Oh,
worked in,
yes.
and I have worked in healthcare for 30 years as a plain language editor. And I can tell you that what is actually going to engage health professionals is to talk about safety, because patient safety is paramount. And it doesn't matter whether you talk about, anything else, but if you say that you want it to be safe, then's when I get engagement by clinicians. Because I then talk about, as we've already talked about before, is the audience. What are they going to be like when you're talking? So whether they're in intensive care or whether they're in emergency, I also talk about the cognitive load, is that you don't want to put so much burden on people because they're already stressed, they're already sick, they're already in crisis. And to give all those big words, what are you going to get when you get back? And so in healthcare, with the work that I do, I don't just promote plain language, but I also promote other health literacy strategies, such as Teach Back. And, asking a clinician to check for understanding, specifically when you're talking verbally, it's very interesting when a clinician actually comes back to you and say, oh, I did that, and oh my God, they never understood a single word I said. That is actually when I get engagement and I get people going, oh, I see what you mean. I've done that with an anesthetist where I was working with him and we were doing what's called a real-time editing session where I'm working with him and I've got a client there as well. And the person said, well, actually, I had one of those and I still to this day don't understand. And he started talking in everyday language. And then I said to him, and so I wrote while he spoke. And he said, oh, you want me to write the way I talk? Oh, I see. And so in some cases, it's around getting the clinician to understand the context of the situation and them going, oh, and it doesn't always work. There are clinicians who cannot communicate in everyday language. I can tell you that for a fact. I have worked with a number of clinicians who have no ability to translate their content into everyday language. They just can't do it. And so that is where I come in saying, well, I'm your translator. I will translate your content from clinical speak to everyday language. So sometimes I think it's important. I would have to say, being a registered nurse, being a plain language editor in healthcare has made a huge difference to my credibility. Sometimes when you have a plain language editor who doesn't have a healthcare background, I think that's when clinicians start to go, well, I actually need all that stuff. And I'm as a nurse say, no, you don't. And I can do that and say, well, actually, no, you don't. My background is emergency nursing, and I can, I sit there and say, actually, no, you don't. Or I'll say, provide me the evidence. The other one I do is give people, I'll say, give me the evidence for why you think you need it to be that way. And often they don't have it. It's all, and I'm going to be a bit facetious here and say many times clinicians want to be special snowflakes. And they need to understand that no, they're not a special snowflake. Whether you do wound care in Toronto or you do it in Buenos Aires, wound care is almost always the same. And so it's not about being special snowflakes.
I appreciate that, and I think I work more with decision makers in the organizations and administrators who have a concern about budgets. So safety comes in, but also budgets. If I tell them their pain point is, I'm going to help you save money by having patients comply with instructions better, so that you don't have all this churn. So of course, the different aspects of the organization will have those different pain points. But you made me think of two things. One, you as the credible healthcare professional and plain language professional being the mediator. I think that's a super important concept, and I love the idea, and I have promoted the idea of in education and in health, we have a concept called language access, which is backed by the class standards, providing culturally and linguistically appropriate care. And I think that needs to be extended. It's usually used for people who need interpreting and translation, but I think it needs to be extended to plain language because, yes, we do not all speak medicalese.
Well,
And
and in the work that I do, I actually bring that into being health equity, because health equity, plain language is a part of health equity. And
absolutely.
whether, so when we're talking, and in fact, Dr. Cliff Coleman, he has a great video where he talks about systemic racism. The use of complicated language contributes to systemic racism. So the more that you use more complicated language, the more you marginalize people who don't actually have that same level of ability.
And I think that one of the things that we can do by using plain language or providing access is the fact that professions have their terminology, and those Sue Ellen Wright, a terminologist, a fantastic terminologist who does work in language standards, talks about the layers of meaning that technical terminology have and is used as shortcuts for people in the specialization. And that is great. I do not think doctors, lawyers, etc., should get rid of their technical terminology because it would take them hours to communicate something that they can communicate in a sentence. But we do need people outside of that community, need help, need a little extra time. And so that translation, that mediation is super important. And the other thing I wanted to share with you is that some of the skills that we talked about and this may be something that happens in the training of clinicians, skills that, for example, interpreters can use with AI, doctors could use as well, because basically they're also learning to interpret their own content to people. And so how do you prepare? You can create a knowledge base of what patients understand in a certain context, and tell the doctor, okay, interact with this persona until you can get that feedback that makes you think, okay, they got it. They know how it's going to work. So AI can be a tool for training clinicians as well on how to do that. I think it's really yes, we want to bring clinicians closer to this, but I also think we need to promote your role, what you do. I think it's a fantastic role that we need to. Now we're expanding, for example, in education, the role of interpreters and translators, and plain language. I had actually for the first time, the school district called me to plain language interpret a meeting for a special education meeting, because they were trying to explain to the parents things in English in educationalese that the mom and dad didn't understand. And so I think it's important to think about this, that it's a good role to come into as humans, that, okay, we're going to use AI to help bridge this gap that exists between people who are not specialists. Even without discrimination, there's a gap between people who are not specialists and people who are. So I think I absolutely appreciate your input. Okay,
Romina,
we're past time, but I wanna
just maybe for tomorrow. I'm not really that clear, and especially in this last example you were giving, I'm not clear how much like AI can really improve that communication. But that's something, I've been listening, and it's not very clear how like AI could be better, could make things better, that interpretation better.
So I think that the question is more, and Carol, you can weigh in. To me, it's a matter of using AI as a resource in the background. I do think, and I will give you a very concrete example. I was at my daughter's launch of the school year, her first year in college. The president gave a speech in English, and they had a system interpret by AI into other languages. For example, there was a grandma who only spoke Russian sitting next to me. Was that interpretation perfect? Not at all. Were there security, safety, privacy concerns at that moment? Not really, because this was about, talking about school, the school year. So that was a use of AI where the grandma would have needed, maybe some chuchotage from the mom, but she could read. This was not spoken. This was speech to text. She could read and understand and follow and say, oh, she's talking about that, and then she could ask questions. So AI tools can help in live situations, but in healthcare, I think they can also help in the background to train and to support your
An interpreter.
Yes.
Okay, because the school example that you just gave is like, well, there's no interpreter, but I guess when there is an interpreter, I guess it would be to give the interpreter more background, assuming that the interpreter is not specialized in that area. It's kind of doesn't have the information, so it's like.
I think one of the things, to me, one of the things that for interpreting is preparing for the session. So let's say you have an idea.
So if you're kind of relatively new to the area or the very specific topic you're interpreting, that kind of like to like cognitive support.
Preparing cognitive support, training, definitely for improving output, giving you feedback. One of the things that I've created, for example, well, this is for translation, actually. It's a grader for translations using ATA standards. So it's basically, you can check whether you're meeting those standards. In interpreting, you can say, okay, maybe give the AI source and translation, or source and plain language, right? Spoken or written, because you can use what's called multimodal, and say, okay, this is ideal. Now let me give you the next one. Source. This is what I came up with. What do you think? How can I improve it based on my ideal example? So not just based on, a fuzzy set of data, but based on my ideal example. I love this interpretation that I did. I recorded it. I'm hitting all the right places because I'm keeping up with the speaker. I'm using, the terminology correctly, etc., etc. And you give the next one, and so it will help you improve your output. But in the moment of the interpretation, I think it almost works as a dictionary. If you have doubts, you can use a mobile AI to ask questions about something you may not be as familiar with. That even with all the preparation that we do, people always come up with something that.
But in that case, would you have the thing going at the same time? How do you use it?
Yeah, I mean, and I haven't done interpreting in a while now, but I have my device. And right now I have not done this. I am trying to connect to my network. So not going to ChatGPT, but going to my local AI, so I don't breach confidentiality. And this involves a little bit of finagling, and ask it like, okay, look this term up, or remind me of what this means. I can also Perplexity. I can use from my phone and get sources especially if people are fighting over something where I need to figure out a point of view. You can use it in the moment.
Okay.
I mean, for consecutive. In simultaneous, I don't. Maybe your partner can use it for you.
Yeah, I guess it could be, for like, with a booth mate, they could, the person could be looking into like some terminology or something like that.
I see, I want to acknowledge something that Virginie posted about, this is about visual support. using icons.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm French speaking and I was trying to go fast. It was to add to what Carol Wilson just said. I used a similar strategy for information design and like you said, icon. I had this client who didn't have any good reason to refuse to use icons to help understand and memorize a list of symptoms patients, or in this case workers anyway, need to know and remember. And this is basic plain language visual content. You had visual content to help memorize. Plus, and he didn't have any like good reason. Same for modernizing the look of his document. So I kind of push him and ask him, okay, show me where it is written in the Ministry of Health Communication Department that there's a policy that we cannot use icons because it is infantilizing, and show me where it's written that we cannot modernize the look and information design, that we are against modernization, like to push him to find solution instead of making excuses.
And so let me ask you something, because this is, I am right now working with a client on convincing the FDA that the terms and conditions side of medical brochures, you usually have instructions on one side, and the other side is all of the legal information, that it doesn't need to be the forest that it is, that we can make it clear. We have a sample, we have results from a range of ages and abilities, and the lawyers are reluctant to let go, even when we show them that some of the pieces are convoluted and repeated 15 times, and that's the purpose of written language, to not repeat. People can read again. You don't need to repeat it because you can go back and read it again. And so it doesn't need to be on tiny font. We can make it bigger. We can give visual cues. So we're having a hard time convincing lawyers where when they're saying, oh, we don't want the icons. Yeah, is the argument infantilization?
It was a healthcare brochure, let's say a 2-pager, just like you. Yeah, it was an excuse, infantilization. It was probably because he was protecting someone else about budget restriction, but it's not a good reason, because today, if we want, we can use AI, for instance, to get icon in a style that is content and that we like and that will fit the client's needs. So this is what I was saying with regarding this kind of text that is medicalese type.
So I just put in the chat a link to Joe Kimball's different articles that he has put out. He is a lawyer. He is in the United States, and he has written a number of books. He also has a number of he has a site at wherever he teaches university. I can't remember. It's on his site, I'm sure. But he has a number of articles about the reasons why lawyers don't really need to write the way they do. And it's interesting because I have one of his books as well, and he's got a great way of communicating clearly that lawyers want to hide behind the language. The purpose is to be gray. It is to purposely create language that makes it harder to interpret right from wrong. And so when you put it into plain language, you're actually making it more concrete. And lawyers don't like that because they can't then argue for one thing or another.
Yeah, and Professor Kimball's resources are really great resources for plain language. So thank you for the link.
Can I just add a funny thing I heard? This was several years ago. it was a talk given by a primary care doc who said that they finally got their legal team on board when they realized that they were getting sued less because patients understood the consent forms they were signing.
Oh my goodness, we have so many examples of lawsuits won over the inability of the patient to properly understand. This was explained to the patient. It was explained. I love it. Was it understood?
Yeah.
So and again, yes, this is one of the pain points that I see a lot, is that we can save money, we can make money, we can reduce the number of calls, complaints for clarification. And this is part of what the AI in the process, bringing AI into your workflows can help you do. It's consistency, churning, and doing more volume because we have more and more information coming in and going out. Is it a solution for everything? Not at all. Do I use write as if you were a 5-year-old? I do not like the concept of writing as if I was speaking. Speech is very repetitive. Speech is very, so the idea of being conversational, so you would need to explain to people, no, don't transcribe what you're saying. That's not what we mean. What we mean is be conversational, be accessible. Think about what's most important. If in speech you would say, oh, I forgot this really important part, and you get excited and you have gestures, okay, what do you do in writing for that? You cannot say at the bottom of the page, I forgot this really important part. You need to reassess your formatting and put that in bigger font in heading at the beginning. Showing those strategies for written communication is very important. I saw something else over here. Let me make sure that we have, okay, we will pick it up tomorrow. And we'll have specific Q&As with the speakers at the designated times for the sessions that are released tomorrow. And we will also have an end of day call to add more questions. We can interact in the community. I will be checking the community. I know people are at all kinds of hours in different time zones, so it's hard to be live. But I want to provide as many places to ask and share as we can.
Thank you.
Carla, yes. I saw that you were patiently waiting in the waiting room.
Hello.
Hi.
Is that I'm not at home. I want to ask you something. It's not related with AI, but because I saw that a lot of people are like with medical stuff related. With insurance companies, for example, when in the medical hospitals over there in the United States, sometimes they ask for the medical exams in English. So you guys do the translation from, for example, here in Honduras, all the exams are in Spanish. And sometimes we need, as brokers, to send all the files and it has to be in English, the exams and everything. Do you guys do that?
Yes. So one of the things that I have done, and I still do as a medical, and this is one of the reasons, is this is actually one of my use cases. I get patients' files, exams that need to be transferred for whatever reason, not just insurance. Maybe a patient is going to continue care abroad or coming from abroad to get care here.
Yeah.
They were on vacation and got something happened, and it needs to go. In my case, it's mostly English and Spanish. I've done some Italian. And so I'm implementing AI, but I cannot use that file with all of the patient information to ask ChatGPT about it. So I implement a workflow locally to tap into, and I do have a lot of it's not huge, but like I said earlier, I have 20 years of translation data, and it didn't work for training a model, but it does help me get terminology and explanations. And so I query my database locally, and I'm able to process the content, come out with an output, tweak that output so that I make sure, I check, especially when it's clinical tests that where every number is very important. And that gets translated, even if it's something that for some people, especially doctors, would understand if it's in another language because it's technically it's almost the same. Even that we translate and we make sure that it's in the correct language for the target reader, whether it's insurance or another doctor or an administrator, or the patient themselves sometimes.
Okay, and how can I reach out to you in case I need some translations for medical exams, for example, for a Methodist or I don't know, Baptist hospital, maybe a doctor?
Oh, I would love to help you. And you can reach me at my, you can reach me in the community. You can reach me. My regular email is romina@languagecompass.com. And LinkedIn, and the community has direct messages now, which we are very excited about. So you can text, you can also, if nothing else works, or if you just want an easy way, you can reach me at the community, and I'll give you my my email, my number if you want.
Thank you.
Of course.
Romina,
Yes.
I'd like to know what are the strategies you use. I don't know if you do co-creation with those professionals to help them get into this conversational voice.
Yes. So, one of the things Carol earlier mentioned, Teachback. One of the things that I use when I'm training is doing role playing with Teachback to show people how that especially for spoken language,
Mm-hmm.
what comes out of the specialist's mouth is not what goes into the person's ear. So Teachback is a strategy for even for training specialists.
Yeah.
And for writing, I have sessions that are called Think Aloud sessions. So I show them, we sit down, we look at, like I have one scheduled for next week after the summit, where we're going to look at information about developmental disabilities.
Yeah.
The differences between developmental disabilities support in kids versus adults. And so one of the things we're going to do is sit down with the current text, and I think aloud with them, and I show them how I think about the content and the changes that I make. And this is backed up by the fact that I have done rewriting for them, and they have been very happy with it. So I've shown them that even with ChatGPT can help them get it a little more clear, getting a little more conversational. The results that they get when I intervene are way better. So now they're happy and they want to know, they want to learn how to do it. So we do think aloud sessions. I do commented, and this is more expensive, by the way. This is a very important thing that as professionals, this
Okay.
thing I freely share. This is not, you're my friend and I'm sharing. This is work. I'm working with you. I'm working with you when I'm redoing it myself. I'm working with you if I'm showing you, I'm walking you through my thinking process. I am working with you if I am giving you commented work. So basically,
Yeah.
if I made a change, I tell them why I made the change. That obviously takes me more time to do than just making the change itself. So they will have to pay me more money. This is a very important aspect of things, by the way. But yeah, I think with them, I work with them, I show them examples. We analyze before and afters. We have gone with one of my clients, we have gone into community settings. They work with, they advertise their services into communities. So we've gone and done focus groups. So they share what they had. I share what we did a kind of A/B testing. I share what I had, and they saw the difference. They see the difference with people reading right away and asking. And some people with the texts that I have redone, being able to get up and do versus the text that they did, people ask, so but for this, what do I do? And then half an hour later, they were able to get up and do.
Yeah.
So those different strategies are very, they work together in various ways to show people who are not communicators that that's okay. They're not.
Yes. They cannot be writers, they are professional.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's great. This is why I go to you as a professional. This is why you come to me.
So if I understand well, I now have a word for, I think, what I'm doing with my client who are healthcare professional is think aloud session. So just to make sure, I'll let you know what I use. I tell them, imagine you are at the barbecue in summertime with your family. How would you explain this to them? Is this a think aloud session?
Okay, that's that's a little bit, that's role playing.
That's role playing, okay.
Yeah. So this is okay. You're in your shorts. You're in front of the barbecue. Flipping burgers. You don't have your white coat on. That's a role playing exercise, and those are also very, very useful.
Okay. So what would be think aloud?
Think aloud would be, okay, we're gonna go. I opened the document that they sent me. And this is a lot for written, but you could probably also do it for spoken language. But what I do is we open the document and I go, okay, usually I ask everybody to have read the document beforehand. And I go in and say, here, we start here. It says, a way to interact with your developmentally disabled student. Okay, that's a very long title. So I think aloud with them and I tell them, this is my reaction to this. This is a very long title. We need something that is going to get people connected to the text easier. And then, for example, the text continues and says, Law 6354A in California for developmental disabilities, launched by Senator so-and-so says, and I give them, I think aloud, this is not the right way to start a text for teachers or for parents. It's great background. That's great that there was a senator who worried enough that they started a law, but maybe that's background information that we can put at the end. So I go through and I think I react to the content and I think with them. And then I give them the strategies, right, or what to do. There's a list with 23 bullet points. Who's follow a list of 23 bullet points? No one. So what are the strategies you can use to figure that out? And that way we massage the whole text and they see why this is needed. Very, very often, they will ask me to actually do it myself. Even though I've thought through all the strategies, it's so much work together that they ask me to do it.
Yeah, they are always amazed at how much time it takes, even when I prepared them. Thank you very much for explaining this think aloud method. I understand that we go through top to bottom, and you critiques or comment, let's say.
And I've done think alouds both prepared unprepared. So some of them, they give me the document before and I have ideas already to show them. And sometimes they say, what about this one? And I have never read it. And I still react to it. And I think through how, okay, if we need to have a little bit of a strategy session before we start and say, what are we revising for, right? We need to have project specifications because one thing, for example, one time the client switched on me and we were revising something. We've been revising things for customers and then they wanted to go to management. I'm like, oh, okay, this is a different strategy because now this is not your customer who doesn't know about your internal processes. This is your boss who knows about your internal processes. So we're going to think about this different. So you need to come, you need to think about those, the triangle, the text, the content itself, the reader or the recipient of the content, and your communication goals with it. Discuss that first, and then you can share with them how you react as a communications professional.
Thank you for sharing.
Of course. Okay. We're going to meet tomorrow again. We're going to start back at 12 p.m. So you'll have tonight and tomorrow morning to watch sessions and hopefully learn more. There's different levels of depth. And so the goal is to get you acquainted with a bunch of these ideas, terminology, etc., and show you use cases. Some of the use cases are really interesting. So hopefully you'll find that interesting as well. Okay, bye everybody.
I'm confident we will like it.